Hello again. This short video is going to talk about how to test your evidence. So, should you be trusting what you're reading or not? Basically, what we're going to be talking about are the questions you should ask yourself as you're reading things, especially things like websites or things you're finding online. If you're not finding it through the library, the types of questions you should ask yourself to make sure you're having high quality sources. So there's 8 questions you're going to want to ask yourself. First off, you're going to want to ask yourself, what's the purpose of this site? Is the purpose to advertise to you? Is it to try and sell you something? Is it trying to persuade you and others who are reading this or watching this information to believe a certain thing? Think about what the purpose of the site is, and is that going to be something that's going to affect the quality of your information? Second, you want to think about the bias or objectivity of the website. Now, some websites or some news sources or some magazines clearly have some kind of a bias. For instance, if you're reading a publication put out by the National Rifle Association, you can guess that they probably have some bias towards certain types of gun control laws. It's not necessarily a bad thing, it just means that you need to keep that in mind as you're using that evidence or not using that evidence in the body of your speech. Third, you want to consider the expertise of the actual evidence. Well, Donald Trump might be an expert in some fields, like business or things along those lines. He may not be an expert in something like how to remove somebody's appendix. So you want to make sure that the expertise of the site is actually there. Additionally, if you're looking at someone's blog and you're considering, should I be citing this person's blog or not, think about, is this person going to be a credible blogger? Is this a blogger that's associated with ESPN.com, so they're affiliated with something that has a larger amount of credibility? Or is this Uncle Bob's blog? And why should we trust Uncle Bob and his blog and what he thinks? Fourth, we need to think about accuracy. Are the things we're reading in this evidence the same things that we're reading on other pieces of evidence? If one website tells you exactly what it is that you're looking for, and every other website out there says, nope, that's not the case, that one website you found may not be an accurate site for you to use, so you may decide that you need to find a different source, or that your conclusion that you've reached is not necessarily accurate. So you want to think about that when you're testing your evidence. How does it compare with the other sources out there? You want to look at when the evidence was actually published or put forward or done. So if you're looking at a research article from 1990, that may not seem like it's such a long time ago, but you think about it, that's almost 25 years ago. The idea that something has changed between 1990 and now is probably pretty substantial, the changes that might have happened. For instance, if you were looking at something that was published in the 1980s about AIDS and how AIDS is transmitted, it's going to be very different than the information we're reading about in 2013. So think about the timeliness of this article or the evidence that you're reading. Is this going to be impacting the quality of the evidence you're providing? Let's see. We're on number 6 now, I guess. That would be relevance. Is the evidence you're actually talking about relevant to what you're trying to argue or what you're trying to convince your audience to believe? That's going to be really an important thing to think about, and I think most people can get that pretty quickly. Is your evidence sufficient? So is the evidence you're providing going to be enough to convince your audience that there's a problem? Finally, you want to think about, is your evidence being presented in context? If you're trying to pull a statistic from an article about homelessness that says that 27% of people in Floyd County have a drug problem, I just made that statistic up, I didn't obviously look that up anywhere. And the article's about homelessness, but you're pulling it about the drug-related information, and your speech isn't about homelessness, it's about drugs, that would not be information that's been taken out in context. You'd want to go back and try and find out where this homelessness article found out about the drug-related incidents in Floyd County, and you'd want to try and find that original article instead. So think about these 8 questions as you're going through and reading different articles or looking at different websites to make sure that the evidence you're presenting in your speech is actually going to be high quality.